Hey, what's up?
Nothing much. How are you?
I'm doing great. Just watching all the insane fucking progressive conspiracy theories reverberating throughout the Twitter sphere. But, otherwise just hanging out.
Sure, same here.
All right. What are we here to discuss today? Do you know?
I assumed you had a topic.
One of my issues, so I'll be broadly speaking and then I'll be specifically speaking. Um, Broadly speaking, I've noticed this very weird rift in like the lefty communities online, this anti-idpol community that shuns, like the intersectional people, that says that gay rights, LGBT, all of that is whatever. It's all about class or whatever, right? So I've noticed that broader movement. And then more specifically, I saw a very strange tweet that looked like it could have come from Steven Crowder that I think you made about how, yeah, I think it was you were making fun of the kiss that Pete made, and some other guy had tweeted about how like, oh, like straight men kiss better than this.
Sure. Was there a question in there?
Yeah, I mean, don't you think it comes off as a little homophobic?
Well, first of all, no, I didn't say it was funny or weird because he was gay. I just thought it was a weird kiss. If it was two heterosexuals making an absolutely weird, awkward looking gesture, I would still make the same joke.
Yeah, but
And
you
beyond
realize
that,
you quote tweeted a guy that specifically called out the fact that they were gay, right?
yeah, how you're making a huge assumption as to the identity of the person I quote tweeted as well.
What assumption am I making?
I believe that people, LGBT people, have at least a little leeway to at least make jokes regarding people in our own community, especially when it's like a presidential candidate who is a white man, wealthy, clearly has a lot of power. I don't think the levels, like the scales, are equal on that one.
So, firstly, whether or not he's white, wealthy, or has power has nothing to do with this being an LGBT issue. Those issues are all
No,
complete.
actually, it does. It does, yes, because it is a sliding scale. White cis gay men, especially ones who have a lot of wealth, a lot of power, are not on the same social axis as like myself, for example.
So, you think it's okay to make
It,
homophobic remarks about a person as long as they're wealthy or white?
I think that it is okay to make a dumb joke here and there if you're punching up rather than punching down.
Okay, so if somebody from the LGBT community said that Pete looked like he was acting like a faggot online, you think that would be acceptable because he's white and he's wealthy? It's okay because they're punching up?
I did not say anything near that. I said the kiss looked weird. I think what's happening here is that you're kind of inferring a different intent from what I actually.
Well, so intention doesn't matter, right? We hopefully you have the online savvy, the sophistication to understand that intention is always going to be what like homophobic people hide behind, or Nazis, or alt-righters, or anti-women, right? The idea, well, it's not intending to be a bad remark, but like we have a homophobic joke.
So,
Yeah.
what exactly is your point here that
Well, my point is that
being
I'm
being
somebody that I care about LGBT issues, and the idea that
okay,
we've
and
yeah.
I'm just trying to understand this he being a gay man somehow mean he cannot be joked about or criticized because I'm very
So
confused because I didn't say
well, hold on.
that.
So he can be joked about and criticized. Okay, if you want to
Okay,
joke
that's
about
what I
it,
did.
no, 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 no. So Obama is worthy of ridicule for for a few reasons. I would never make fun of Obama because he's black. Much the same with
Well,
Pete.
race is entirely different, and beyond that, speaking as a black person, it is okay to make fun of people in my own community, especially ones who are super wealthy, who are not on the same social standing. It's called punching up.
It's not called punching up. I don't think you understand what punching up means. Just because somebody's
I
wealthy.
do actually, yes.
Okay, so you're telling me that if somebody's wealthy, all those other jokes that target aspects of their character that we would normally consider protected. So, for instance, making fun of somebody because they're a woman, because of their race, because of their sexuality, that all of a sudden that's all okay because
It
they're wealthy.
would depend on the joke, of course. It's case by case. Context is important, of course.
Well, what
But
does it depend on?
for the, I'm talking about my particular tweets. I'm not talking about in the grand scheme of things, every single possible joke to take into account. I'm talking about my specific tweet. It had nothing to do with his sexuality, literally none of it. It's
No, but
just,
your
this guy
quote
looks weird when he,
you're quote tweeting, you're amplifying a tweet that is making fun of Pete's sexuality. So I mean, you can't really hide behind the idea that, well, I wasn't being homophobic when the quote tweet is being homophobic. Also, Pete's only
okay,
worth 100K. It's not like this
so,
guy is ultra wealthy. He's like middle class.
okay, so if I quote tweeted Trump and made a dumb joke based off something he said, would I be what, like amplifying his voice or something like
Yeah, it
that?
could be.
Because
Yeah, if you were
that
to
happens
quote,
a lot in the
yeah, if you were to
that
quote
happens a lot in the resistance.
I don't know anything
So
about what
apparently
you
that
call the
every
I don't know what you call the resistance, but if you were to quote tweet Trump making fun of somebody's race or sexuality, and then you were to make a joke along with Trump about said person's race or sexuality, yeah, I would say you're amplifying Trump's xenophobia there. Sure.
well, I guess we can just agree to disagree there.
Okay,
I
cool. So I'm just kind of
know what I
curious where
tweet.
that I'm curious where that line is then. So if there's any person that I disagree with, like how much wealth do they need for me to attack their sexuality or for me to attack their race?
It is not just about that. I am saying that people who are within the same community, within reason,
What does
can
within
make
reason
similar
mean?
jokes.
And also, I would consider myself to be LGBT. So
Well,
I'm in this
I
community.
didn't call him the F word or anything like that. I didn't say any gross slurs or anything like that. I simply, well, made a joke about him kissing weird, a thing, because it's true.
So
It doesn't,
the joke
he
was.
isn't,
So have you ever heard about the idea that a minority is called to stand for a representative of their entire group of people? Are you familiar with this concept that one minority like represents all groups of people, or that you might point out like a particular aspect of that minority because they're a minority? So for instance, like you would never hear somebody compare a straight person to a gay person like this, yet we have a gay person that's compared to a straight person for some reason. Like this is like, let's say for instance Crowder were to tweet that, Steven Crowder or Ben Shapiro were to tweet like even straight men kiss
well,
each other with more passion. You don't think you'd feel a little
they aren't
uncomfortable?
gay. They aren't gay. They aren't part of the, that's what you're missing. I am part of the community.
Okay, so I'm trying to find out where the line is in that. So since you're gay, why can't you call
I,
people the F slur if you're gay? What if Dave Rubin were to make this joke? He's gay.
I guess they could. I can't speak on behalf of whether that's a good idea. I didn't do it,
Well, you
for
amplified
instance.
this joke. So if Milo Yiannopoulos or Dave Rubin were to make homophobic remarks about,
You're just speaking in hypotheticals. I'm
well, I'm speaking in a
trying to
hypothetical because that's how
explain.
we figure out what your idea is. I'm just curious how far you'll go to justify like homophobic attacks on people just because you disagree with their politics. It's something that I think is really disgusting that I see happen a lot.
I did not believe it was a homophobic attack personally. But if you are intent on viewing it in that way, which it is your right, absolutely. I can't tell you how to think or feel or anything like that. I am just saying that for most cases,
So you don't think there's
that
anything that if
you're cutting me
somebody's
off a lot,
what?
and I was in the middle of explaining.
Oh, sorry, I got your mic sometimes cuts out, so I thought you were done talking. Go ahead, you can finish.
No problem. I'm just saying it's not going to apply in every single instance or every single case, of course, but I think a little bit more leeway, I shall say, should be given to jokes within the community. If it is in the direction of like punching up, if it's like a white gay guy making a really gross joke about maybe like a trans woman, for example, then we could examine that and examine the instances of power. Okay, on a dynamic scale, like is like way up there. He's like closer to being accepted by society, one could say, and he's attacking someone who's more marginalized than he is, that would be a worthwhile discussion to have, of course. For
So
instance, maybe like a trans woman was to make a joke about an extremely wealthy, not just wealthy, extremely white man
well, he's not
who
wealthy, right? He's worth
who
100K.
that's more than what a lot of LGBT people actually have in the community, especially online. I don't have 100K. That sounds a great net worth to have because I don't have anywhere close to that.
I don't know how quickly I could find census data. In 2012, the average household income of a married or partnered gay man is $116,000 versus $94,500 for a straight married or partnered straight person. So it sounds like gay people earn slightly more than the average. So it doesn't sound like having a $100,000 net worth at age 30, whatever he is really that far out of. Are you trying to
Well,
imply that all gay
when
people
he,
are like poor in the U.S. or something? Or
no, I'm saying that there are a lot of instances of LGBT people who are financially challenged, especially ones who are more marginalized than just a cis gay white man who is college educated, who, is running for president, obviously. I mean, that's not a very usual case. There are many instances, high rates of homelessness among trans people, especially younger trans people. That's amplified even more when you take race into class into account. I mean, like a black and white issue, it never is. There's a lot of nuance to be.
don't you think it would be better to just not attack people for being gay or black or women, like online, even if we disagree with their politics? Wouldn't that be like a better precedent to set? Doesn't it make the whole LGBT movement seem like really fucking hypocritical when you think you can shit on a guy who's gay just because he happens to belong to some other class that you disagree with or don't like?
Personally, I did not do that. Theoretically, it would be a case by case basis, and I can't pass judgment
What is the
other people based on a theoretical.
Sure. So what is the criteria by which we can make fun of somebody's homosexuality then on a case by case basis? What like rubric would you be measuring this for to be like, okay, well this is okay to make fun of this person for being gay?
Case by case basis means that you take an actual case, you take actual data, and then you examine it based on the context given. I can't give an answer to something.
So you can't give me any way by which you. Okay, so let's create an example then. Let's say that somebody like Milo Yiannopoulos is a person, okay? Let's say that I see Milo Yiannopoulos say some really dumb conservative stuff. As an LGBT member, let's say I decide to tweet that I think he is a lazy F slur and he should go get HIV because he's so gay or whatever. Is that an okay?
That's very, very different from the tweet that sparked this off.
We're not talking about the tweet that's first. I'm just trying to figure out what's okay and what's not okay. You keep telling me case by case basis. I'm curious how you decide what's okay and what's not okay.
I would assume that would probably be a bit in poor taste. Sure.
A bit in poor taste, but not. I don't know what that means. A bit in poor taste. Do you think you should, or do you think this would be like a condemnable tweet?
Probably not a good tweet in that instance. Sure, given the theoretical context.
I don't know what probably not. I don't know if you're too scared to say it would be a bad tweet or what. Like, can you agree that this would be like a homophobic tweet or?
I just don't like giving definitive answers on theoreticals. That just goes against personal beliefs.
So if I walked into a classroom and I murdered.
If you were to give me an actual thing that happened, like something that happened in, sure, okay.
So one of the greatest gifts that we have of humans is that we can theorize things that aren't in front of us at different points in time. So if I ask you a question, like if I walk into a classroom and I murder 20 children, I imagine you'd say, well, that would probably be bad. You wouldn't say, well, I can't engage with a hypothetical, right? You should be able to engage with a hypothetical.
So you're comparing the mass murder of children to a... Is that what you're saying?
No. What I'm asking is if you're capable of giving an answer about a hypothetical scenario. I'm using the mass murder of children as an example to show you that very easily you can indeed give an answer to a hypothetical question.
Sure. Judging by, sure. Okay.
Okay, so now that we've established that we can indeed answer hypotheticals, which we do throughout all of academia, throughout our daily lives, okay? So my question is that if I were to make a homophobic remark about Milo Yiannopoulos, who is a conservative piece of shit pundit, I don't even know if he exists online anymore, would it be
I
okay to
love
make a
you.
homophobic attack against him? And if it is or isn't, like, how do we evaluate what's okay and what's not okay? Because you're telling me in some cases it is. I would say you should never attack somebody for their sexuality, but you make it sound like there are times when it's okay to do so.
I believe more leeway can be given to people if they are much more marginalized than the targets. And of course, that depends on how bad the thing that they're saying is. Of course, it depends on
Okay, so a black, trans, poor person would have more leeway in terms of making homophobic slurs and remarks towards Milo Yiannopoulos than a well-off white gay man that's wealthy and educated.
I probably wouldn't drag her before a trial for saying that. That wouldn't be high on my priority
I'm
list.
not, okay.
I would.
You're doing this really weird, evasive thing because I think you realize your position is really bad. Where you're like, well, I wouldn't do. I'm not asking you what you would do. I'm asking like what's right or wrong. What do you think is right or wrong or acceptable or unacceptable? Not like I wouldn't do this. I'm just curious because you seem to say it's okay at points to attack people for marginalized
Yes,
statuses.
I said leeway is fine. I'm not going to get mad at someone in that particular, instance. It's like they made that tweet, whatever. I,
I'm not
I
asking you
personally
if you'd
wouldn't
get
care that.
mad. I'm not asking you what you would personally get. So you can't actually do this. You can't actually say maybe we shouldn't make homophobic remarks about candidates. You
I don't believe the original remark that sparked this entire discussion was homophobic.
comparing his kiss and being like even straight men kiss better than that. Like he's not being gay enough on stage. You don't think that's a little bit homophobic? Do you think that a similar remark would ever be made towards a straight couple kissing on stage?
I mean, honestly, that is also ignoring that you don't know the identity of the person who made the joke
Do you
either.
think most of the
That's
people seeing
an
this tweet?
assumption there.
Yeah, do you think most of the people, keep in mind that Twitter is a largely heterosexual space, do you think most of the people that are reading this tweet know that the guy tweeting is a gay man? And more importantly, does that even matter?
A lot of people seem to understand that I was a gay woman when I tweeted that. A fair amount of pushback from mostly just Pete supporters, but for the most part, most people got it. They understood.
They under
I had people DMing me saying, "Hey, that was funny," or whatever, and they're in my community.
Okay, so because most of the responses you got back were funny, how do you know that those people aren't endorsing a homophobic attack on Pete just because they disagree with him as a politician?
Because there are people that I know to be within my.
You had 41,000 likes on this tweet. Every single person that liked this tweet is part of your community, and you're sure that none of them took this as maybe like a funny homophobic attack on Pete. You know that
I
for a
am
fact.
First of all, I'm talking about the ones who either reached out to me or simply replied to it. Second of all, I can't tell people how to parse a tweet, basically. Some people may have thought that I can't control that. I mean, I could say literally anything about Pete Buttigieg, like something totally innocuous, and I'm sure there'd be some asshole out there absolutely to say, "Oh, yeah, you're saying that because he's gay, because he's gross for being gay or whatever." I mean,
No,
there are idiots.
no,
Yes,
that's
yeah.
no.
There's actually a lot of idiots.
Yeah,
There are a lot of idiots
well,
online.
I know. Trust me. I feel that I'm going through your Twitter mentions. But the problem is that this wasn't just an innocuous tweet about Pete. This was a tweet that started off with literally even straight men kiss each other with more passion. Like you're knocking him because he's not being gay enough on stage. Like
I am not. No, I'm mocking him for being a very awkward reptilian fact. Him being gay has literally nothing to do with that. And
okay.
that's
So do you think you've maybe internalized a little bit of homophobia here and you don't realize it?
no, that's a very say
Because you can mock Pete for a
That's
lot of
not
things without
really.
bringing up the fact that he's gay. It's pretty easy to do that. He does act like a reptile. His speeches seem like he seems like Rubio. Like
I didn't make fun of him for being gay.
you amplified a tweet
The
that made fun of
level
him for
of
being gay.
delusion in this person.
If that's how you view.
So you think the original tweet wasn't homophobic at all? To start a tweet off with even straight men kiss each other with more passion.
Not really, no.
If
It's not high on my list of priorities.
I'm not asking if it's high on your list of
Please.
priorities. If Steven Crowder would have tweeted something like this, do you feel like it'd be tinged with a little bit of homophobia or no?
Well, I know the person who tweeted it.
Do you think everybody knows all 41,000 people that like your tweet? Do you think they know the person that tweeted that?
I can't tell them what they think or whether they know that. That's out of my hand. I am going off what I know is within my power.
So you don't think we have any type of responsibility to the messaging that we do on social media when we amplify tweets like this? If people interpret it poorly, then it's on them. Do you think PewDiePie could use that defense for his videos?
The being online means that there are a lot of communities blending together, and they're all talking. And a lot of times they're talking about issues or are widely understood to be relegated to their community, like making maybe making like a gay joke that's not offensive or anything like that, like saying I don't know, making a joke about being a bottom, whatever. I mean, that's a joke that's understood to be within that particular community.
But it's not in that particular community. This is in a heterosexual community, which is Twitter, which is largely a heterosexual space. Maybe we could make different arguments if this was in an exclusively homosexual community or LGBT community, I guess we could say.
So I'm trying to understand. Are you saying that we shouldn't any jokes within our community to each other online because other people can see it and have different interpretations because they lack context clues? Because I'm not willing to agree to that. I think
that I would say is a reasonably
we are
as a
allowed
public
to express our.
Yeah, I would say as a public figure, you should probably be aware that when you put tweets out into a public space, that they could be interpreted in hateful ways, especially when you're targeting a person's sexuality. I don't think it's that unreasonable to say.
I can't control how other people view things. That's not my responsibility. No, I can't make people be smart. I can't make people understand things.
Okay, so
I can do my best.
Yeah, so if I were to start tweeting out racist jokes, but I were to assure everybody, hey, I'm not racist, don't you just think it's funny how the blacks or women or gays do this thing? And I could be like, well, hold on, it's not my fault.
Well, you're not part of those communities. You're not black.
Okay, so if I make fun of LGBT people, since I'm part of that community, then it'd be okay for me to do that? Nobody could question me if I start tweeting out, isn't it funny?
It would depend on the context of the clue, and it would depend on who you're making fun of.
What would context? I don't know. You keep saying it would depend on things.
Are you punching up? Or are you punching down?
Punching up. So as long as I target people that are wealthier than me, it's okay?
It's not just wealth.
What else is it?
You mentioned the word intersectional before. I think you understand what that means.
Well, I know what intersectional means, but you're using it in a very strange, like oppression Olympics kind of way. Yeah.
Intersectional means that the intersection of race, gender, class, etc. It's something to consider when making.
No, intersectionality. No, intersectionality is not an excuse to make fun of somebody for a trait like their sexuality or their race. It's absolutely that's one of the worst bastardizations of intersectionality I've ever heard in my entire life. Like I'm going to use intersectionality to do hate speech. Like that's hilariously stupid.
I can't. I'm not committing hate speech.
Well, you are. You're being hateful towards a person by attacking them on their sexuality, but you're saying it's okay because intersectionality.
I made fun of him for kissing. Whether you think that's homophobic, that's on you. Maybe it's homophobia because your mind jumped there. Mine.
So, like, this is the next tweet from this guy in response to his thing. I don't doubt Pete is gay, but I think Pete is so privileged he learned what it meant to be gay from reruns of Modern Family instead of from the traumatic queer phobia of everyday life. Like, you understand how absolutely horrible this is, that one gay person would, like, try to would try to like
It's
superimpose their gay experience onto another man's gay experience. This is like one of the worst things you can do to a minority person.
it is very much worth talking about, but there's
No, it's
someone's
absolutely
privilege.
that is. Do you have any experience with turfs?
Obviously, yes.
Do you think it's fair for a turf to question whether or not another person is truly transgender, or if maybe that person is faking it? Do you think that's fair game for discussion?
That would be punching down. So
What
no,
if it's a wealthy
that would
transgender? What
not
if
be
it's
fair.
Caitlyn or whatever Jenner or whatever, Kylie Jenner?
That still wouldn't be their place because that would still be punching down. It's not just wealth. I think you're hyper focusing on the class and the wealth aspects. Class is part of it. It's not all.
So I'm sure there must be some wealthy
Any
white trans
any
person that you could.
any cisgender person making fun of or doubting the validity of a transgender person's idea is 99.99% of the time,
So if
or
sure,
even
so let's
100.
say Buck Angel were to start making tweets about how some trans person isn't actually trans, would it be okay for him to do it, her to do it? I'm not actually sure how Buck identifies.
I don't understand what that would have to do with what I was talking.
Well, it seems
You
like you're using some type of like intersectional calculus to figure out when it's okay to attack people over like an LGBT status, which I thought this is an easy answer to me. Like
well,
you just shouldn't do it.
what I was trying to get at
The
before, and you kind of
horseshoe
interrupted
theory
me a little
always
bit, is
holds
that
TRU.
it is okay to at least acknowledge that certain privileges in someone's life may paint their relationship with gender or with sexuality or with something like that a little bit differently from other people.
So do you think
He
it's
didn't.
sorry, go on.
I'm still talking. He most likely did not experience being gay, homophobia in the same way that,
You have
for instance,
no idea. He was in
I
the military and he was gay. How the fuck could you possibly say that?
because I am speaking as someone who has had 3 or 4 murders against my life
That's great. So you think you can be
for
homophobic
being a
against
trans
every
woman.
person
No,
okay, how
I
do you
am
know that Pete didn't experience
saying
that same type of homophobia?
I am saying that not everyone's experience is exactly the
Yeah,
same.
but this guy is literally a gay man that was in the military from Indiana. You think his experience with being gay was like a walk in the park? How can you know? Do you understand how dangerous this road you're going down is? That you're going to start to assume the experiences of other minority people?
I know what my experience is.
You don't know what his experience is, though, and you're using his experience to justify attacking him because he's not gay
Sure.
enough.
You're right. White men who are running for president are very oppressed, and we need to stick up for them because who else would?
You're actually
They,
like unironically a piece of shit. Like people like you like hurt the LGBT community so much. You do a disservice to everything you talk about online. It's actually fucking disgusting. Do you realize that? Do you have any idea how hard you make it for other LGBT people to get like accepted in society?
am gayer
When you think
than
you can
you,
play these
Pepega.
stupid fucking games like this, like that you can sit
oh
there and
yeah,
shit
it's
on other
my
people who are
fault.
LGBT because they're what?
I'm
Because they're
holding down the
white?
entire community.
No, you're not holding down. No, you should know this. Or maybe you don't, because maybe you don't know anything you're talking about. But it's not one person holding it down. It's a systemic thing, right? That when you have this band of LGBT activists on Twitter that all start to shit on Pete for being gay, like, that's pretty fucking disgusting. We can shit on Pete for a lot of different reasons. His sexuality has nothing to do with it. Much the same that no one is going to shit on Joe
I
Biden
didn't.
for being straight. Nobody's going to shit on Elizabeth Warren for being straight. Why would we shit on Pete Buttigieg for being gay? There are so many other reasons to attack him. Like, you're like every other
I
straight person that, like, thinks they can shit on somebody for their
I
sexuality when you
did
do that.
I did not. I'm not going to apologize. Produce an explanation for other. You can go and ask other people.
You
I'm
came here to
explaining.
defend them.
You wanted to ask me a question about this tweet. I thought you were going to be talking about my experience or why I said something.
I'm curious
and
why
kind of
you
touched on
think
that.
I'm curious why you think it's okay to attack somebody for being LGBT, and all you're saying is, "Well, I had a hard life." Boo fucking who? Like,
If you don't understand how intersections work, how punching up works, how punching down works, I'm not. You
I
would like to get out
I
this
understand.
conversation.
I understand perfectly how intersection works. I've never
I
heard an
don't
intersectionalist
think
try to
you do.
use intersectional math to justify shitting on somebody's minority status when it comes to their sexuality. Never heard that in my life. That's
I
insanity to
have,
me.
well, I personally have heard lots of examples. White people in the community will try to say, well, you know what, I'm gay, I can't be insulted by anyone else in this community, because I'm oppressed too. And that's what you're doing right now. He's oppressed too. Not nearly as much as most people in the community. A tiny bit, a particular access of his identity is oppressed. He's cannot be criticized, can't be joked, for example.
Why you? We can
And
criticize and joke
again,
about him all you want. Just don't do it for his homosexuality. Just because he's
I
gay.
didn't.
No, but you're
I
excusing it. You're saying it's okay, and you amplify other people that are doing it.
I'm not excusing anything. You can talk to those other people and interview them and ask for their explanations.
You're literally
I
saying
just
if some queer people are inspired by Pete, then they're white class traitors.
Yes.
So you can't be inspired. What about black people that are inspired by Obama? Are they black class traitors because Obama was wealthy and part of a political machine?
I would say that at this point in LBG, LB, sorry, LGBT rights, I'm tired. Pardon me. And at this point in, this movement, I feel like if you're looking up to someone who is very much a fascist, is very much the type of person who would absolutely take our rights away if it meant him assuming it's not a given, but it's a safe bet. He
Wait,
seems like
which one
he
would
seems
do
like one of
that?
those people.
Obama or Pete is a
Pete Buttigieg.
fascist? Why is Pete a fascist?
He is a centrist who cannot stick to basically any of its principles. He entered the race claiming that he's very progressive, very left wing, and then he basically morphed into a very young gay Joe Biden.
How is Joe Biden a fascist? What do you think fascism means?
Joe Biden's contribution to the crime bill of '94 and also what he did to Anita Hill should speak for itself. If you don't understand
The crime bill that was suggested and penned by a lot of black senators that everybody in the country at the time thought would be a positive contribution to crime. The crime bill was a huge mistake and it was a horrible legislation, but at the time, there were a lot of people that thought that it would be effective, the black community included. I'm very familiar with the crime bill and it doesn't have anything to do with fascism. Try again.
Sure. Okay. So black men who were unfairly jailed, attacked, killed because of this crime bill, that's not fascist.
So do you think Bernie is a fascist? You know that he signed on to that crime bill as well, right?
Yeah, I do have an issue with that, yeah.
So is Bernie a
I'm
fascist?
not saying,
It should speak
not
for
saying
itself,
Bernie
you
is
said, right?
I'm not saying Bernie is a perfect candidate, but he is the one that I have chosen, although that has nothing to do with the conversation.
I just don't know how signing onto the crime bill makes you a fascist, unless you don't know what fascism means. But I guess everything we don't like is fascist today, huh?
Sure, whatever you say. Do you have any more questions for me? Because I feel like you're just using the platform to attack me for your, what is it, like 200,000 subscribers, which I'm sure they're getting kicked.
Well, no, it's like it's really fucking sad. I mean, but I think you're a horrible fucking piece of shit. But it has nothing to do with any LGBT status you're at. I wish you could give like the same credence to other like LGBT people. But I guess it's cool that you think you can attack some people on those traits as long as you're using intersectional math to get there. It's absolutely fucking insane to me. But good luck getting like other straight people to rally around your cause when you're showing them that it's okay to shit on gay people as long as they're wealthy enough or in a high enough political office to do so.
Thanks. Thank you.
No, good luck. What a fucking idiot. I don't know anything about anything anymore. I legit don't know anything about anything. I feel like every single thing I've talked about is worthless. I'm having another moment. What was one of the worst moments in my life was when I used to argue about. I used to argue as a white person. I used to argue with black people, with Hispanic people, with women. I used to say things like, listen, It doesn't matter if all the lead people in games are white and straight and male. It doesn't matter. You should be able to identify with anybody. Them looking like you shouldn't be important to you. And I would make that argument unironically. But the reason was that, like, the reason was that, like, I genuinely felt that way. I really don't kill. I'll get along. Or, I'm sorry, not don't kill. I really don't care. Like, I'll play a game with any lead character. I'll hang out with Asian people. I'll hang out with black, whatever. I don't care. None of this matters to me. And everybody that I thought was, like, supporting me in those arguments, I thought that they all agreed as well. But then what happened was, when games started to come out with more women in the lead, the first game that did this that really fucked my mind was there was some FIFA game that came out with a Hispanic lead character, and so many white people were so mad, where they were like, dude, it's a fucking Hispanic person. I'm a white guy. How the fuck am I supposed to get into this game? And I got mind fucked, because I was like, well, hold on. I thought that us gamers, I thought we kept making the argument that representation doesn't matter. Why should we care if there are women or Hispanic lead characters? Like, I thought we didn't care about this. But in reality, I was just a useful idiot that was furthering arguments for other white straight guys who wanted to, like, maintain the status quo. Like, that's what ended up happening. And I realized, and then I realized, like, oh shit, like, none of the people that supported my arguments actually give a fuck about anything I was saying. I was just supporting a status quo. And now, like, I'm running into these areas where I keep hearing on the left, like, all these arguments that I thought we all agreed were so bad. Like, well, I can attack that person, you know, for being gay because of, like, these reasons. Or, like, well, you know, it's not my fault. I can't interpret everybody's response to a tweet online. Like, I don't know if everybody... It's like, wait, hold on. I thought we talked about, like, responsibility and messaging. I thought we talked about how the intention doesn't matter. It's the effect of an action. Like, I thought we already ran through all these arguments with conservatives, and I made them so much, and I thought that, like, lefties or liberals or whatever the fuck you would call them, progressives, agreed with me on these. But now I'm starting to wonder, like, oh, I guess it's not. It's literally just, like, people just have this, like, they pick up a new cloak for whatever argument they need for any particular point, and then that's it. They don't actually believe in any of this shit. It just furthers their cause at the time. It'd be interesting how the interaction might have gone with Eva or instead of you. I wonder if their equation would be more persuasive than you. Oh yeah, I wasn't being persuasive. I was just really mad. It's like, it's so shit that, like, that you would attack somebody for their sexuality because they're running for office. I'm sorry, KZ Wolf gives up 10 subs and I had it muted, my bad. 90% of people are just tribal and their only priority is furthering the goals of their tribe. Yeah, but it's, like, so fucking pathetic. Holy shit. Oh, I'm sorry, it's Lumi, not Eva, I should be saying. They changed their name. Check my dono. You must fucking hate the Boondocks. The writers for that show must be huge fucking pieces of shit because they shit on black people for being black all the time in that show. That's not true at all. What do you mean? The writers of the Boondocks, MacGruber, I think is his name, like, makes fun of certain aspects of black culture, but it's aspects of black culture that he considers to be toxic aspects of black culture. So, like, the voice of reason in that show is supposed to be Huey, who, he's a fucking extreme lefty rebel that thinks that, like, the fucking CIA, like, poisoned the black community with fucking crack or whatever, right? Like Huey is supposed to be the voice of that reason, right? He makes fun of Riley, who exemplifies, like, gangster culture with black people. He makes fun of, I guess, like, you could say that Tom, and then for being literally an Uncle Tom, and then Grandpa for, like, being, like, frivolous, whatever. But, like, yeah, or like how BET can be judgmental of the black community. But he never just makes fun of black people for being black. Now, the only exception to that is season 4 of the Boondocks, but that's when MacGruber leaves and the show just turns into a shit show that's fucking horrible. I'm confused how that tweet is homophobic. Couldn't that exact same joke be made about a straight couple being non-passionate with each other? The problem is that, like, it's this, so there's a lot of intent behind this that we have to read into that, like, makes it seem not okay. Like,
it's like when woke Twitter flipped on Hannibal Buress when they found out he was a landlord.
Nobody will ever in my entire life. So when we talk about privilege, okay, it's so weird because it feels like I turned into the ultra SJW somehow. Like, I became, like, the only person that knows, like, any of the SJW shit, and then everyone around me became, like, unwoke. Like, I feel like 2016 Destiny would maybe be a lefty. I might actually be, like, part of this unwoke squad of people. But anyway, so when we look at, like, certain types of privileges in society, one of the privilege of a majority person is a majority status person. I never have to answer for anything related to my majority stuff. So here's the thing. Nobody's ever going to question something I do because I'm a man or because I'm white or because I'm straight. I don't have to worry about that. These are, like, default characteristics. I'm always chill. I can coast on that and never have to worry about it ever, right? If I were to kiss somebody on stage, nobody is ever going to say some shit about me who's, like, damn, dude, the way that he kisses his girlfriend, I don't even know if that guy is straight. Like, I've never seen straight people kiss. Like, I would never have to worry about that. But when people are saying things like, thank you, Emil. But when people are, no, not that one.
You sure?
Too fat. You can eat it though. When people are saying things like, oh, I think Pete learned how to be gay from TV. Like, what the fuck? If you think it's that easy to learn how to be gay, then shouldn't like Pence's concentration camps for gay people? I don't know if those are real. Like, shouldn't that undo gayness then? If we really think it's that easy, like the idea that like that you would attack Pete over his experience with being homosexual. I don't know if homosexuals are gay, with being gay or whatever, right? That's something that Pete only has to deal with because Pete is gay. If Pete was straight, we wouldn't be hearing these types of attacks. And it reminds me a lot of like when some people in the black community would attack other people, like, oh, this guy, that guy's acting white. That guy that's being educated, that's talking properly, that guy's acting white. You know, like that's crazy to me. Like, I mean, it's just, it's not a good, like, it's not punching up. Like, hitting somebody on their minorities class is never punching up. You know, like if I were to call like Obama like the N-word, it's like, well, it's because he's wealthy, he was the president, like that's okay. Like, that's not punching up. That's bullshit. I don't think that's true. People made fun of how Trump kissed Melania on stage after the inauguration. That is true, but nobody attacked him for it for being straight. That's the point. Not to mention the weird implicit assumptions that the tweet made that somehow straight kisses are more passionate. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like...
You got mad at her for making a relatively harmless joke that could get taken the wrong way by reactionary Twitter and bolster their bad views. The same could be said for all the clever jokes on the Boondocks getting hijacked by ignorant whites.
Sure. You could make that, you could make that attack. It's a bit more nuanced. You could say that maybe you should never engage in satire at all. Maybe that the author of the Boondocks, maybe people don't know if they're making fun of blacks culture, like toxic aspects of black, or just black people altogether. That is an argument you could make. Now, unfortunately, that road takes you down to like satire should be dead completely. But that's a road you can go down, sure. But it's different than what we're talking about now. Fucking Batman, the Gotham Avenger, comes flying out of some fucking ditch to write you a ticket, and there's literally not another living soul besides the two of you for like 55 miles, okay? This is like, sure, this is bullshit, okay?